All right. Welcome back to the Let's Do Video Boardroom. Tim, good to see you.
Yes, likewise, David. How's your week been? All good, I
Good.
hope.
Good. Yeah, once again I had to like check my calendar. I'm like, it's only been 1 week. It hasn't been but it's been 2 weeks since we've chatted.
It has been. Yeah, sometimes it feels like a long time in the industry. Sometimes you sort of think, well, has anything really been going on? But clearly, yeah, things are not standing still.
Yeah, it is that weird gap between Enterprise Connect and Infocom, but things are still happening. Before we get into the news, and one thing I really want to discuss is the Microsoft earnings call. A couple quick housekeeping items. My video on a Zoom Workplace is trending on YouTube. It's getting more and more views every day. It's looking like it's going to be my biggest video of the year if it keeps up like this. So I'm very proud of it. If you haven't seen it, check it out. And I decided when the YouTube algorithm speaks to you, it's the viewer speaking to you. So you have to listen. So I followed up with a video on Zoom Scheduler, which is also already getting a bunch of views. And that's something I've been wanting to make a video for a while because I want more people to use stuff like this. Whether or not using the Zoom one, this makes life so much easier. Calendly is what I used for years, and it was a great product. And it just anytime I use it with someone, they're like, "Oh, what is this? Oh my God!" And for those who don't know what the heck I'm talking about, I should introduce my topics a little better. When you start a meeting, when you want to set up a meeting with someone, even with my good friend Tim, I send you an email. How does next week look? Next week isn't good. What about the week after? Wednesday is good. Well, not for me. How about Thursday? The more 6, 7, 8 emails back and forth. We all hate emails. And this is just, it gives you a calendar link. Hey, click on my calendar and you pick an available time. And Microsoft Teams has something like it as well. And I'm just a
Yeah,
fan of these types of things.
Microsoft Teams has bookings. One thing that I do like about Zoom as well is their companion AI. You can propose a meeting within the chat channel, and it will help you schedule a meeting within the chat channel as well. So it's not just the scheduling across different domains, whether or not that's you and your partners, supply chain, whatever, customers. If you're internally in a chat session and you say, oh, let's have a meeting on this, it will automatically, companion AI will pick up the next available time. So some very cool features in the scheduling area, which really does help in terms of productivity. I can't stand those big email threads as we try and work out across time zones, how do we get to speak to each other?
Yeah, and it's a big part of. I don't want to exaggerate it, but it really is a big part of my work week. It happens a lot, and I'm excited by what you just said because you just pointed out an example of something that I think we've been waiting for a long time in our industry, which is, Zoom, WebEx, Teams. They're all saying platform, 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 and it's like what we've seen is each platform is a bundle of all their stuff. And they've been saying, no, 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 no. It's not just a bundle of stuff. It's all works together. If you're in the chat, it knows your calendar and the AI can tell you when this person's available. What you're talking about is what they've been promising. And what we've been saying, I hear the promises. Let's see it. And I think that's what I just heard from you. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we call that, we sort of coined the term multicast, that ability to join unified communications and contact center as a service on a single platform that's integrated with the same sort of data, access to the same data capabilities, leveraging AI across all of that, making it an integrative platform. That's really where we're going. So yeah, exciting to see how this plays out for Zoom.
Should we dive? I have a little side topic I wanted to get into on AI, but I wanted to talk about the Microsoft stuff. Should we just get right into the
Yeah, why not? Yeah, good. Yeah.
Okay, and we'll save the AI for the end because we're kind of getting into it, but it's hard not to talk about AI these days. But let's get into the Microsoft earnings call. I actually have, if you're, it's a little hard to read, but you should be, if you're not following Tom, I'm gonna mangle his last name. Our good friend Tom.
Arbuthnot.
Thank you. If you're interested in anything going on with Microsoft and you're not following, I have a private message popping up. It was nothing too personal. Okay, it's all good. Good friend Dave. You need to be following him. He's a great source of information on Teams. This might be a little bit hard to read, but just look him up on LinkedIn and you can see it yourself. And it's the numbers from Microsoft, and they're all good. But I'm not surprised. Are you?
Not at all. No, it's pretty interesting. Their financial year, it's the third quarter earnings, isn't it, for their conference call, the conference call that happened yesterday. And again, AI dominated the theme on that call as well. Everything was AI.
Well,
Democratizing experiences across the workforce was sort of Satya kicked off with that in his call.
Well, that was one of the interesting things. Is these are all, and I know it's impossible to just take my word for it. They're all great numbers about Microsoft Teams. I'll give 60% of Fortune 500 are using. Well, it's Copilot specific, but there were good numbers on. 1 million Teams rooms. That's a good one.
Yeah.
But Teams only got a little bit of the conversation. They talked about AI. They talked about Copilot. It was a Copilot earnings call with a little information about Teams, despite the fact that Teams is the where a lot of the Copilot lives, and there's a lot of good stuff to talk about. So it seemed like, why aren't they talking more about Teams?
Yeah, there was a little more on Teams last year, but some of the figures were incredible. Teams Phone, for example, there's over 20 million PSTN users, which is an increase of 30% year over year. So
that one surprised me.
That really did surprise me. I mean,
I just haven't been hearing Teams. A lot of excitement about Teams Phone. It hasn't been on my radar, but wow.
Yeah, and then of course there was the boast that Teams there's a new version that's rolling out that's twice as fast and 50% less memory. That was sort of they sort of called that out, but as you can imagine, Copilot in there for very good reasons, and I'd like to explore a little bit more about the reasons why Copilot keeps coming up and why it's featured so much and why there are so many of them. And I think a lot of that is really down to improving the ARPU, the average revenue per user. And that is sort of Copilot's helping move people on, it's helping Microsoft in terms of their revenue. They need some way of clawing back the amount of investment they made, the billions they invested in OpenAI. But the other thing is as well was to some degree, revenue had slowed down. And the move to the E5 plan, the enterprise E5 plan, it was slowing. It went 5%, 6%, 11%. But of course, anything that you can do to increase the average revenue per user, Wall Street are very happy with. So Copilot helps drive that. Teams Premium licensing helps drive that. And of course, as you start using Copilot, you need to use some of the advanced security, the data privacy, the sort of way in which you can categorize data in the E5 plan. It's going to help drive people to that E5 hero SKU that Microsoft talk about. So a lot of their revenue, and it's projected to grow 12% next quarter as well. It's all about moving to E5 and the E5 momentum. And the Copilot in Microsoft 365 is driving all of that.
It does seem like they have an issue with too many Copilots. Even the biggest fans are saying, Copilot confusion, chasm of confusion. There's just so many Copilots.
I think they got more Copilots than United and Continental and American Airlines all roped together. There's probably more Copilots than there is in the US fleet, but it certainly feels like everything's got a Copilot.
I mean, obviously it makes sense. They see it as a big part of their future. And I was saying this when it first hit. I'm like, oh, this isn't just a feature in Teams. This is bigger than Teams. This is like Xbox for them. This is a division for them. But I don't know. I don't know how it works at Microsoft. They're not as transparent as some companies. But I'm thinking if I was a developer with any kind of clout at Microsoft, or on a development team with any kind of clout at Microsoft, and I had any say of what's going on, I would be demanding that we're doing a Copilot project, because a year from now I want that on my LinkedIn, on my resume. So I'm thinking that everyone who's anyone at Microsoft is demanding that they be allowed to work on Copilot stuff. So we're having all these. Mid-scene sounds naive, but who knows? But we have more Copilots than we can make sense of.
Yeah, well, it was interesting because on the call, Satya was sort of saying that Satya Nadella is the chief executive of Microsoft, just to be clear there. He said that knowledge does underpin the productivity of an organization. I guess it does, as does the culture. You will get those sort of organizations where they don't want to expose all of the knowledge because, knowledge is power, and in those autocratic sort of hierarchical organizations, maybe they don't want to use Copilot. But generally, it does underpin the productivity of an organization. And of course, Copilots help surface that. So it helps to integrate work. It helps automate workflows. It drives better decision making. Those were the sorts of terms that Satya was coming out with. Helps improve collaboration and efficiency. And of course, he said that nearly 60% of the Fortune 500 now use Copilot. He also spoke about 50% increase in the number of Copilot assisted interactions per user in Teams. Now, I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that's meeting transcriptions or intelligent meeting summaries, but personally, I haven't found those to be particularly useful, the sort of summaries of meetings, because I'm usually in there. I know what the meeting's about. I haven't gone back into a meeting recording, looked at the transcript or the summary, but I'm sure some organizations will find that helpful.
I have. I actually found that helpful. Not the transcripts and the recordings, but the summaries, because I'll do 10 meetings in a day and I'm not a great note taker. And I'll go back and I'll read, and especially some of them at the end will have to-dos, and there'll be David's to-do is to set a meeting for next Wednesday with Tim. Like, oh, I totally forgot. I would have flaked on. It would have been embarrassing. I was sitting right there. I said, there's a recording of me saying I will do this, and I forgot. I said I'm gonna, and I don't have a personal assistant. I'm just not rich enough to have a personal assistant to remind me. So, it's at the point where I'm trying to make it a practice, and it's not, but it should be. After a meeting, to quickly scan the meeting summary.
That's a very good. That's a very good sort of method to get into. I think what I found interesting, particularly about Satya, is he coined this term work artifacts. Whenever I hear artifacts, I start thinking of archaeology, where people are digging around trying to find things, and that sort of summarizes where all of my stuff is in the Microsoft estate. I might have it in OneDrive, I might have it on the desktop, I might have it in Outlook, I might have it in Teams, I might have it on numerous Teams channels. I mean, the amount of files that I need to access through all of those. So he coined the term work artifacts and how Copilot can bring that together. At the moment, I'm still struggling trying to find that. I'm hoping that it improves to the point where I can use Microsoft Copilot 365 and ask, where's the file that I shared with David? Some of that information comes through really, really well. I think what Microsoft's challenge is here is the training part. Not a lot of people know how to access that information. There's lots of features and functions that don't even get used in Teams, let alone Copilot. So I'm hoping that we can find a way to improve the user experience so that it's great stuff when it works, when you know how to use it, but not a lot of people know how to use it effectively. So I'm hoping that Microsoft puts some focus on the end user experience to make use of it all.
Well, there's one way they could fix all of this, but the business model wouldn't work for them, which is to say there's only one Copilot. There's only one Copilot and it knows everything. And then there's not a separate Copilot for Excel and for Outlook and for productivity and for sales. And it's just your best buddy Copilot. And it could do everything you say. And you could say, oh, I don't remember if I had something in SharePoint or had something in where I had a file somewhere. It's in my world. And your Copilot say, I got you. If it's in Microsoft, I'm your Copilot. I got you.
Which is interesting because we saw that we've seen that with Zoom, Zoom Companion AI, which is available at no extra charge across the enterprise. They do start charging for some of the features in the contact center space and the customer engagement space. But by and large, it's one Companion AI, and we've seen that with a number of other vendors that have
but not yet,
one
though.
AI.
They're coming out. They announced Ask AI Companion is Zoom's new thing, which is not available yet. That is going to be the one companion to manage all, if I understand it correctly, that's going to be outside. But for now, it's still the way it is in Teams. There's a companion in chat, and there's a companion in email, and there's a companion in meetings, and there's a companion that manages meetings summaries. It's a lot of companions, but Zoom is taking the step to give you one companion to talk to. I hope.
Maybe we should do a quick chat on companions versus Copilots. I think that would be an interesting discussion.
Yeah. Oh, and one quick thought. I hate to be negative, but I think there's two kinds of Copilot users or companion users, AI users. And the stats that we're hearing about massive adoption is not distinguishing between the two. So as excited as I am, and I want to be on the side of, oh, this is real. There's some in our industry that are like, this is all hype. I'm like, no, this is not hype. This is real. There's the kind of user that is more of a passive user that, hey, I got an email from Copilot with my meeting summary. Oh, I'm using AI. When I first got my first meeting summary, I don't remember turning it on, actually. I think it activated. And I was in a meeting, I think it was probably with you. And I got an email afterwards from Zoom. It's like, oh, here's your... I think a lot of people are technically using Copilot that way. But there's the other kind of user. That's the real user, the one who goes into Outlook and says, Copilot, help me write this email, using it like ChatGPT. Those users, that's the number I want to know. And none of them are sharing that. They're just giving this all over. Oh, we have 100 million people using it. Well, yeah, you turned it on for everyone. I mean, I used it. I didn't mean to. Why do I count as a user? Because I used it. No, I want to know. You see what I'm getting at?
Yeah, I do. And what's interesting as well, David, is the ROI. I mean, this takes an awful lot of training. This takes an awful lot of you going back into meeting summaries and changing transcripts if people don't, if there's something that hasn't been recorded properly. I've heard all sorts of things like saving 15 minutes a day, whether or not that I have 2 extra cups of coffee. I mean, you're assuming that I'm going to take that 15 minutes and apply it to something more productive, or to do an extra 15 minutes of work somewhere. Where Copilots and AI has a real interesting use case and justifiable ROIs in the contact center space, I think across the board for users, I'm not sure whether or not there's going to be some pushback from IT departments saying it's a bit too much, $30 per user per month. Show me the ROI. And that could be challenging. I have no doubt there'll be people that will just do it. But I think it's going to be difficult for the more pragmatic IT department that's saying, show me the return on investment or return to value. That's where I think we're going to see some interesting discussions.
That is the topic. And to Microsoft's credit, or to its marketing team's credit, that's been all they've been talking about. Last year, it was, here's the cool stuff you could do with Copilot, cool demos and meeting summaries. Is it cool? Is it sexy? Is it new? Do you like it? Do you love it? And now it's been all about, here's what our users are saying about the productivity. All we want to talk about is ROI, because they know the only question people are asking is, people aren't saying, is this cool anymore? People are saying, is it worth $30? And they've heard it. So they're trying to answer that. I don't think they've completely answered it yet because we're still asking it, but
yeah. The other area that was quite interesting that is worth mentioning on the call, on Microsoft's call, was the way in which they're introducing new Surface devices that have integrated NPUs in them with has the AI capability like auto framing and live captions actually on the chip, on the device itself. I found that particularly interesting, especially when they said that as you've got AI in Windows, that these new sort of meeting devices that are powered by Windows will be able to offer these AI edge processing capabilities. So I found that really interesting, like speaker recognition and auto framing. Now, I know that we've been doing that in the industry for some time, but it was interesting to show that we're going to find more expensive devices with more AI powered chipsets on them. What's your take on that one, David?
Oh, this is just the start. 18 months from now, big prediction. 18 months from now, you're going to be buying a card for your PC that is going to run Copilot. Copilot or AI assistant or companion or whatever it is. Your magical little internet helper AI buddy that we're all developing now, it's going to live on a card in your PC. And there's so many reasons for it. A lot of it is just the isn't Microsoft building its own nuclear power plants to take care of all the servers they're having to do for all this AI? There's only so much the cloud could do. It's like graphics. We all have graphics card on our PC because you couldn't do all that graphics over the internet, and we didn't have the bandwidth to push it through. And the global computer community said, this is the way we're going to do it. We're not doing graphics in the cloud. You're all going to have to buy your graphics card. And NVIDIA's going this way. Intel have been giving presentations where they've been talking about, AI on the edge is a good idea, and it's not something to be scared of. It was a weird presentation I heard recently. You already have AI on the edge. When your microphone gets rid of the dog barking, that's AI on the edge. That's not scary. When your camera gets rid of your virtual background, that's AI on the edge. That's not scary. Don't be scared of AI on the edge. I'm like, when you hear the "don't be scared of it" pitch, that means 18 months from now it's buy the card. So AI on the edge is absolutely happening.
Yeah, and we've seen that with Cisco, haven't we? I mean, we saw a number of times where there's been embedded AI on the edge of their beautifully designed hardware, sort of video conferencing equipment. And we saw things like, AI, how it counts the number of users in a room, how it improves noise reduction, noise isolation, noise cancellation, and all of that's done in the hardware. The great thing about working from home, though, the great thing about working from home, though, is you can have all of that through just some very basic sort of pair of earbuds or microphones. It does it all, but it has to do it and trombone through the cloud. It's all done in the service. So this will mean perhaps less processing up in the cloud. So it makes life easier for Microsoft in their data centers. I almost guess it reduces latency and the demand on the network, so you don't have to hairpin or trombone through.
It's all
through
local.
The internet. So, yeah.
A great example. Wish I had thought of it a few minutes ago. If you go to my website and look at the videos, a recent video I did with Crestron. And thank you, Crestron, for sponsoring and working with me. One of the advantages, you're on top of mind. But it is an actual example. They have a new series of cameras, and they have two versions. They have what we call them the smart versions and the smarter versions. One is a regular PTZ smart camera, and the other one has AI in it. And the use case is the regular cameras. You put them everywhere, and you connect them to your network. And like we talk about, they have a software that can control them all through AI. But the ones that have AI in them can just do things locally without connecting to the network. And it's for small. You think it's more AI, bigger, more complicated rooms. Actually, it was some of the small rooms. They had one room. It was a really cool use case. They had people sitting like us and we were sitting on the other side of the room so we could face the board. And one person walked up and went to the other side, and the AI camera, there was a camera facing and a camera on each end. And the cameras were talking to each other locally. They were smart. They didn't have to go to the big computer in the sky. They talked to each other locally and said, hey, David stood up and walked to the other side. I'm going to switch to my camera to get David while he's talking to the board. Hey, David sat down again, switched to the other camera. The cameras were doing it all. I'm not explaining this well at all. You have to watch the video. But the idea is that the AI on the edge allowed this room to just manage itself and give a super AI camera director changing camera experience without the help of the cloud.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's fantastic. And I guess it will switch quicker because it's not having to go up to the cloud to make that decision and then come back. So I'm hoping you'll get faster switching between active speakers, those sorts of things, because it's difficult when someone starts speaking and there's a 6-second delay. You sort of think, who said that? And where should I be looking? And then all of a sudden, the camera switches.
Yeah, it's weird when someone stands up and the camera is on an empty seat and you hear a voice for 10 seconds. It's okay for 2 seconds because the camera's going to switch. But there comes a point in time where you're wondering, is it going to switch? Is it going to switch? Is it broken? Is it working? So if it's all local and it's all quick, it was a really good experience. So AI on the edge, that is the next big trend. You've heard it first at Let's Do Video. Anything else from Microsoft?
I don't think so.
Okay,
only that they keep on keeping on, making money, grabbing market share, improving their figures. They're doing particularly well.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with the numbers. I wanted to wrap up with a quick thought of talking about AI all the time, but it's all we can talk about. I just gave moderated a webinar for Infocom, Avixa, and the topic was AI, and it was so hard to keep on track. The topic was supposed to be, because Avixa is AV and AT integrators, the folks on the ground who are working to solve the problem that we talk about over and over and over again, the bowling alley meeting room. And the topic was supposed to be how we're using AI to solve that problem. So going through Zoom Intelligent Director, Microsoft, I forgot what Microsoft called theirs and what WebEx calls theirs, and Crestron, difference between Crestrons in the hardware, the other ones in the software. And it just completely derailed into everything else AI, because that's all, the chat was talking about. But something interesting did come up, which is just an example of the pace of how fast this is all happening and why it makes it so hard for us to predict what's going on. Here's an example of AI text to video. So not giving it graphics to work with, not giving it any pictures, just typing in a text prompt, actor Will Smith eating spaghetti. And this, I want you to guess how long ago this was, because this is obviously not current state of the art, but this was state of the art when this was made. And it's a horror show. It's disturbing. It's a nightmare. And I asked the chat, and some people said 10 years ago. Some people said 5 years ago. Some people said 2 years ago. It's from 2023. It's from last year. This was as good as it got. And here's a current example. And again, this is text to video, no graphics, no colors. It was, and the prompt wasn't a page. The prompt was like 3 sentences. Confident woman, stylish woman walking down a dark reflective street. And this is what it came up with. And if you look really closely, you could see, oh, I see some things that make it feel like it's not real. But compared to what we had last year, this is insane. This rate, this pace of development is literally insane. And it's a little scary, because the result of this, I don't know if it was this video in particular, but a video like this one. Tyler Perry, the producer in Atlanta, he's building Hollywood in Atlanta. He's a multi-billionaire. He has studios there. He produces movies in Atlanta. And he was had it all ready to go, an $800 million studio. He saw this and canceled the project entirely because he doesn't need that studio anymore. And I'm thinking some AV integrator just had a really bad day, because that's a lot of lighting, that's a lot of networking, that's a lot of cables. A lot of that $800 million would have went to our friends in our industry, and it's not going there now. And we have to be ready for that. And it's not the end of the world, but it's the end of some projects. And we have to think, okay, so if we were those people who got canceled, how do we go to Tyler Perry and say, oh, you're doing this with AI now? Well, you still need us, because we're your AI people, because we do this now. We need to figure out what we're doing now. Am I being over dramatic?
No, I think this is going to shape and change and drive a whole generation of people that will blow us away with the standard of quality of content, video, all sorts of creatives. I mean, I'd hate to be a photographer now, because having your own little studio to take a picture of, a cup of coffee if you're working for a photo shoot to promote, a local cafe. What happens to their business? I mean, it's going to be very, very interesting. And what happens with all the deep fakes and everything else? And in the UK, we're coming up to elections at some point this year. I've no doubt AI be used to put out all sorts of things on social media. So there's plus sides and downsides. But one thing that does impress me, of course, is the ability for anyone with a limited budget to have such a professional setup that it makes video content for enterprises and customers that much more interesting. I mean, David, you cover this area extensively. I know that you're going to be talking about it at Infocom, I believe.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
With a degree of moderate spending, you can have studio quality content, which is really compelling. TV broadcast capabilities, much better than engaging someone on a flat 2D UC call, I think, or a town hall. I mean, you can make this really compelling, really memorable if you want to. And I think AI is only going to improve that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, without AI already, look at what we're doing. And this is just... this is the zero budget option. This is free graphics that I found on the internet. This is me putting it together myself using free software, and we're able to really already have a lot of fun. This is I'm sorry, but this is cool fun. This is cool fun stuff. But with AI, imagine if it wasn't just me at Let's Do Video. If it was a big company's marketing team with a $1 million marketing budget. With better software and better graphics and AI, like you're saying, you can come up with something just amazing. And it brings us to in mind, I've been uploading a lot of YouTube videos lately. I've been really obsessed with YouTube analytics. I have two YouTube channels, the Let's Do Video channel and my guitar channel. They're both growing, and I'm just obsessed with the analytics. And something changed recently when, I'm not sure if it's just with live or with uploading any videos, but there's all those checkbox, is there advertisement in this? Is there adult content in this? Is there blah, blah, blah in this? And there's a new checkbox, which is there, 2 weeks I'll get the exact wording for you, but it was basically asking if any of it was generated with AI. And I didn't click yes, because the way it's worded, it says, does this video make it appear that someone is someone that they're really not? And someone, is saying things that they're not really saying. And yes, I am making it look like we're in a boardroom that we're really not, but you're all in on it. You're all in on it. You all know we're not here. I think if I was trying to present this and trying to actually pretend that you were here, I would have had to click yes on that new checkbox. So
interesting.
Yeah, even YouTube's in on it. All right, it's been a half an hour. I know you're a few hours ahead of me. Are you ready to call it a weekend?
I think so. Yeah, that was great. I enjoyed today. That was really interesting, sort of looking at the way AI is going to shape this industry. I'm really excited as to the potential of it.
Yeah, this is a fun discussion.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If we got anything wrong, let us know in the comments. Thanks everyone for watching, and have a great weekend.